Hi everyone and welcome to another video. Is this like my new favorite place to film? Probably. It just feels so light and lovely. Also, this literally matches the gay panic you feel when you're about to come out, right? If you hadn't read the title, I'm doing the video that I always said I would never do, which is my coming out story. It's very basic, boring. But I think it's good to show representation that sometimes, coming out can be alright. So let's just get started. Right, let's actually just address the fact I'm gay. You probably already knew that. Some people don't know that. Not that I hide the fact that I'm gay, I just don't really talk about it. But anyway, so how long have I known I was gay? I have known I was gay for a very long time. Very long time. I always used to play as the female characters in any fighting game. Strike one. Favorite Power Ranger was always the Pink Power Ranger. Strike two. And I had a massive fascination with Poison Ivy and Batman and Robin. Strike three. Gay. But yeah, I've always known for a very long time. Part of the reason was I never really used to fancy girls. I dated girls, like that awkward stage where you would hold hands and then like never speak to each other again. So that kind of dating. But I always kind of knew that I didn't like girls in the same way that when you were in the changing rooms with the men and they'd all be like, oh my god, she looks so fit. And I was like,
Absolutely not.
so I always knew that I never really liked girls in the traditional sense of wanting to have a look at the PPVV, have a look at the PPVV, what? Another way that I always knew I was gay was I watch wrestling. I'm a massive women's wrestling fan. Not to say that you need to be gay to like women's wrestling. Some people love it and they fancy the women and love that. For me, I always used to know this because I would watch wrestling for the women. I would still watch it for the men as well, but I watched it because I was a women's wrestling fanatic. I would literally watch 2 hours for a 3 minute segment. Yes, because the women used to get no time whatsoever on TV. Anyway, that's a whole different video. But yeah, I just remember that I used to love watching women's wrestling, and I remember when my sister's ex-boyfriend came in one time, and he was like, "Oh, I bet you love watching the women fight." And I was like, yeah. He thought I was thinking of the same reason that he was, that I liked watching them fight because, they looked really lovely. Whereas I wanted to be a diva growing up. I wanted to be a diva. I wanted to be Trish Stratus and Lita. And that kind of, for me, I was like, well, why don't they were attractive, they were hot. And I was like, why don't I find them attractive in the same way that other people do? Do you know what I mean? And that's always stuck out in my mind. And another reason, if you're my parents or my sisters, you might want to cover your ears for this bit, porn. So, you hit that adolescent stage, 13, 14, you start talking to all your friends, and then all your friends start talking about porn, because that's just what men do. Let's just type that up there. It's just what men do. And I was always like, right, okay. And then I remember not realizing that you could watch porn on the internet, but sort of the first discussion of it, my friend was like, oh, I've got this porn site that I use, I'll send you it and you can like watch some videos. I'm so sorry if you're my family. But anyway, basically, I was very intrigued by the thought that there was a gay porn section on this. And I was like, why am I intrigued by it? And tried to watch straight porn, just couldn't get into it. The girls talk way too loud. No. So that's always been there, and I was always like, what do I like boys? And the thing that was confusing for me was I fancied no one at my school. So if you're from my school and you're a male, I thought you were dusty as fuck, okay? Would never have gone near you with a barge fucking pole. Let's just put that out there. Just to slide that one out. Even when I would watch straight porn, I would watch it for the guy. And that was kind of something that I evolved with later on, sort of watching porn in a way. You know, when you go through that confusion stage of, oh, is it just, you know, just that one time? It wasn't. And I always remember thinking, oh, maybe, um, maybe I am gay. And that was something that I struggled with from the age of about like 11. I remember I have this. I was so bad at keeping up with the diary, okay? I wanted to be like those bitches who kept up with the diary and they could read it back in 10 years motherfucking time. But I can't. I always forgot. Like, when you read my diary, not that I will ever read my diary, you would literally get sort of 2008, 2008, 2009. Like, the entries were all over the joint. But I always remember I must have been in my feels one night. I remember writing a piece in my diary, and it basically said about how I thought I liked boys. And I remember hiding it in lock and key. And my sister will not remember this at all. She won't. My twin sister, she was like trying to read my diary, and I was so scared that she was going to be able to read it because she was like trying to pick the lock. And I was so terrified that my sister was going to read my diary and discover that I'd written this little piece about me that I thought I was gay. And I know when you look at me now, you probably think it was fucking obvious. But growing up, what people have to remember is times have changed. I remember there was this guy, I won't name names, but he was gay. And very openly so towards the end of school. And I just remember the way some other guys were towards him in high school. For instance, he would wait for me and my friend to finish changing, like to walk out into the PE hall with us. Nothing fucking sadistic with it. And then sometimes I'd be like, oh, I'm not ready, because I was a late ass bitch all the time. And so him and my friend Josh would go, and then I would hear conversations from people like, oh, did you see such and such, like, looking? And he fucking wasn't. And it was purely based on the fact that he was very open, like, with being gay. And that always just was like a big no for me. I was never going to come out in high school because it would have just been so bad. But I always remember at one point where I always feel I love both my sisters very, very much with every fiber and being of my body and soul. But I always remember one night, me and my older sister are very much on the same emotional wavelength. Lucy sees things more in black and white sometimes, and Zoe and I see things more in color, and everything is fucking. It's not just black and white. And I remember Zoe and I used to like message each other at night time and be like, "Are you still awake?" And she'd be like, "Yes." And I'd be like, "Okay, let's go and get some food." So we would go downstairs and have like I would have Cocoa Pops because I'm a Cocoa Pop bitch, and she would have toast. And I think that night we actually did because I remember this so well. I had cereal, she had toast. We sat, she had a cup of tea, and I remember sort of. It's so like thinking now because obviously she obviously accepts me, but back then the only time that in that time period, the only time that LGBT representation on TV, it can be sort of that negative connotation of, oh, it's bad, it will be bad, people will hate you, friends will disown you. That gets into your head because that is what is presented to you when you watch TV because it sells ratings and shows and whatnot. Because people love a drama. So I remember sitting on the counter, which I'm looking up to right now, and I remember telling her something along the lines of, I think, something like I asked her whether she ever had a crush on a female. And she was like, oh no, what about you? And I remember starting the conversation and being sort of like, well, there has been times that I've maybe thought I had a crush on a man. And then I think maybe in her overzealous sort of excitement over the fact that I was maybe opening up, I think I took that the wrong way. And then I was like, but I don't anymore. And I'm definitely straight. And I remember, like, sort of her sort of daintily sort of like, she didn't want to push the subject, because that's the one thing, if you're watching this and you are not someone who is LGBT, you're just watching it for the sheer lols. Don't like pressurize people, because you don't know what's going through their mind. Do you know what I mean? So she was very lovely that she didn't do that, and that was it. I stayed in the closet for another God knows how long. I think I was 21 when I came out, and I'm 27 now, so that's not even that long in the grander scheme of things. I kept that secret for so long, and the amount of worry that I used to have over that secret coming out, I was scared that my dad would. I was scared that I would forget to delete browsing history back in the day where everyone shared the same computer, and that like my dad would look through it or my mum would look through it and then be like, well, why is this person watching these kind of videos? And let's face it, everyone watches porn. Get over it. And I just remember sort of thinking like those things and hiding that secret for so long, and it was such a weight on my shoulder, I tell you that now, until one fateful night on my older sister's birthday. Yes, I stole the limelight away from that bitch. I do apologise, Zoe. No, I'm joking. Zoe didn't find out till the day after, actually, so, it didn't ruin her birthday at all. So I remember we went out for my sister's birthday. It was a great night. Everyone had such a great time. I actually surprised my sister that night because I was at uni at the time, so I came all the way home to surprise her. Oh, hello. And then she was really shocked, started to cry, because like I'm just like I have that much of an impact on people. And we had a great night. We're out dancing, and I remember her friend Katie, hello if you watch this, and her girlfriend were dancing with me, and this guy was trying to dance with me and tried to pull me away. And Katie's my friend as well. So Katie, my friend, and her then girlfriend were like trying to pull me back because obviously they thought I was one of the lads and was not gay. Night went on, and my twin sister was really drunk and was like, I'm gonna go home. So I was like, because our boyfriend lived in the area that we were, so she was going to walk home. And I said, I was like, right, okay, well, I'll walk home with you. I was like, because I don't want you to walk on your own, because, straight men can be bad. So I walked her home, and on the walk home, we were just talking about the night and how great it was. And then I told her about that situation um, where the guy tried to dance with me. And I remember her saying to me in her drunken state when she was leaning on a wall because we were both very drunk, and she went, well, did you want to dance with him? And I remember, I think time just for me just went so slow. It was like you could hear like the drips from the drains dripping down in the alleyway. And I remember just in that moment thinking, if you don't say something now, you're never going to say something, and you'll spend the next 10 years in the closet, and you will be that bitch that gets married and then discovers later in life after having kids that they're gay. And I didn't want that for my life. So I remember just being like, well, yeah, I did kind of, I wouldn't mind it. And then I remember her I think she sobered up in like 2 seconds in that moment because she kind of was like, deer in headlights, oh my goodness. And she was just like, oh, well, that's okay. And it's okay if you like men as well. And I remember sort of being like, well, yeah, I think I do. And then she sort of gave me a hug, and then we went into her boyfriend's house, and she was like, come inside. So we sat on a bed and we like chatted the whole night pretty much, I think for about an hour and a half, I think. Just about the fact that I thought I was gay. But because like, you don't want to disappoint people, or I didn't, I was like, oh well, I don't know, I think I still like women as well. I did not. I just wanna, if she ever watches this, I know Lucy kind of dips in and out of my YouTube channel. I just want to thank her for always being the way she was when I came out. She was just sound about it, and the relief that I felt in telling her that I was gay was just great. She always knew though, because funny side story, when we were younger, we were like, I remember the three of us all sitting together, and Zoe was saying how we were all gonna talk forever, and then me and Lucy have like twin telepathy, and I remember Lucy was like, oh, we might not, because Lucy's like that, and I was like, oh, Zoe was like, what do you mean we might not talk? She goes, well, you never know. And I remember looking at her, and Lucy was looking at me, and I was looking at her. And then I went, Lucy, shut up. And then Zoe went, what's going on? Like, Zoe being dramatic as fuck, as always. and I was like, Lucy thinks that I'm going to steal her boyfriend when we're older, and that's why we won't talk. And then she burst out laughing. She was like, how did you know I was thinking that? And then she always just called me gay anyway, as an insult. But you know, forgive her for that. Forgive her for that, because she was so good when I did come out, and I remember just feeling so great about it, and just feeling so relieved that I'd told someone. And then, obviously, the next thing was to try and tell everyone else about it. So the next person on my list the day after was Zoe. And I kind of thought Zoe would be fine. And I remember Zoe had got, I think, The Great Gatsby on DVD for her birthday. So she said to me, oh, do you want to watch it? And I was like, yes. And I remember we were watching the film, and then it got to the point where we were talking about Lucy and I going home, or me walking Lucy home, and I paused the film and I just was like, right, Zoe, I need to tell you something, and I don't know how you're going to react when I tell you, but I hope that you're okay with it. And I remember Zoe, in her panic state, she actually thought that me and Laura, my best friend, had slept together, and that it was then awkward, but no. Although I have seen Laura's vagina. That's a whole other story. But I remember her sort of going, oh God, what? Just tell me. And I remember just saying, I think I might like boys. And then I remember Zoe cried a little bit, because I think Zoe has like always known. Zoe remembers the conversation that I had with her in the kitchen that night. And she has said since then, she's like, oh, I really did think you were going to come out to me then, but I never wanted to push you. So yeah, Zoe was totally fine and cool with it. They both said that they had discussions about whether I was gay or not. Thanks, girls, for including me in that. No, I'm joking. Because always like people come to you. Don't go to them thinking, are you gay? Because someone did that, and I told them once I came out, I was like, for a closeted person, you kept calling me gay and saying, are you sure you're not gay, in class at uni? And he apologised profusely. So the next up was my ma. And I remember Zoe was there, and she was like, right, you're just going to have to do it. And Lucy was like, Mum will be fine. Like, she won't care. So my mum was cooking dinner at the time, and I went, Mum, can you come through here? And she came through, and then she's like, what? Because she was cooking, and she was like doing a roast or something like that. And I was like, I've got something to tell you. Can you sit down? She went, no, I'm busy. What? Just tell me. And then I was like, right, I think I like men. And then she literally just went with her spoon in one hand. She was like, and can I go cook now? And then she like left and went and cooked. My mom always like tells me like, oh, do you find him attractive and stuff like that, which I always think is really funny. But I still find it weird talking about the fact that I'm gay, because when you spend that long in the closet to then be so open about it, and I think, oh my goodness, like that's really weird that I'm actually openly talking about finding a man attractive. I'm not fine now, but see that first little bit where I felt like open and could talk about it. Oh my goodness, that was weird. And then the big one was my dad, because obviously in the TV shows it's always, oh, that's gonna be bad, but it wasn't. It was really nice. I remember saying to my dad, I was like, look, I think I like men and women, and he was like, right, well, I love you and I want you to be happy, and if that's what makes you happy, then that's what makes you happy. You're my son, and I will love nothing more than to see you be happy. And I cried because I was like, literally, like, oh my goodness, like, you kind of build it up in your head that, especially with your dad, only son as well, and you kind of think, oh God, they're just not gonna accept. And my dad was very much like, no, like, I do accept. And I remember him telling me after, because I remember my mum said, "Are you?" My mum said something like, "Oh, right, are you gonna tell your dad?" And I was like, "Right, okay, yeah." And then everyone was there, and then my dad told me later, when it was just him and I, that he almost felt not disappointed, but I think he thought that I had everyone there for support, as if, like, I was con like I was just convinced he was gonna like not accept it, and he said that he was sad at the fact that he thought that I had to have everyone there for support, because I thought that he was not gonna accept it. But he really did. He really did, and he's been lovely. And really, actually, really interestingly and really lovely, I went on my first date in 2019, and my dad literally Googled everywhere that I could go that I would feel safe. And I remember thinking that that was just such a lovely thing for him to do. And I've dribbled on quite a lot. Um, all my friends accepted me. Half of my friends were like, "Yeah, okay, we kind of knew, but we were waiting for you to say something." My friend Dean, who is as straight as they come, he loves the pussy, and he fully accepts me, and we're actually like the best of friends, and it's great that he is totally comfortable in his sexuality, that he's totally fine with me, and I'm very comfortable in my sexuality and know that I don't fancy him. And that's really cool. I remember telling my best friend Laura when I got back to the flat, and she cried as well, and she was like, "Yeah, oh, I kind of knew, but like, oh, I'm just so happy that like you're happy." And Laura, I love you so much. And everyone was just really accepting. Um, everyone was just really accepting. It's something that I don't like. I talk about it in videos, but I don't post about being gay, or well, I do on TikTok. I do on TikTok, but that's only like last year that I felt comfortable enough to do that. So it's still a process. It's still a process. Still a process. But I've never. It's not something that I don't have like pride. I don't like wear pride flags when I'm out and stuff. I mean, you could probably guess with I'm so into fashion and I'm so good at fashion, but it's I've always been a if you need to know, you need to know. Like, and if you know, you know. It's not something that I'm gonna. I was never one of those bitches that would go and then everyone on Facebook, I'm gay, because it's just not something that I would do. And then I remember, I never really told like my auntie or anything like that until last year. Not because I didn't think she would accept me. I think it was more just you kind of just get it into your head that people won't, in a way. And I remember I did a lot of podcasts for Changing Faces. Check them out. In those podcasts, I talk about the fact that I'm gay. So I remember she was on the phone and my mum was telling her that this podcast had just come out and she hadn't listened to it yet. And I was like, oh, can I speak to Auntie Sarah? And she gave me the phone and I was just like, look, I was like, there's something that I need to tell you because I discussed it whilst on the podcast. I just want to tell you that I am gay. And I remember my heart was like racing, and I don't know why. And she was just like, oh, Atholl, I've always known. And I'm just really glad that you've felt like you can tell me. And she was just like, we all accept you. Uncle Paul and your cousin Callum will always accept you, and we just want you to be happy. And I remember she was like, have you been on a date? And I remember telling her about my first date that I went on and stuff like that. And she was so happy that I'd done that. And yeah, so that's basically it, really, guys. My coming out story. It's pretty nice, I guess. So yeah, there is hope out there that people will accept you. I'm just extremely lucky that the people that I've surrounded myself with and that are in my family have all accepted me. I hope everyone is having a great Pride Month, and I will speak to you all later.